What's up, everybody? Welcome to Papa Spice's Hot Takes with Hans and Harry. How's everyone doing out there in podcast land? And how about you boys? Hans, how you doing tonight?
Not bad. I'm waiting for these Sixers to close up the series tonight. You know,
Let's
it's
go.
as we are recording, they have the lead right now. So I've been on edge all day. So hopefully by this time next week, Embiid's back, but we'll see. You know, just the same story every year.
So towards the end of the pod, if you hear a random shout of joy, that must mean the Sixers have won. And Harry, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. We're T-minus 10 days out from the wedding, so no stress here. Everything's fine, no problems. Everything's good. Why do you ask? I'm fine. Everything's good, dude. No problems here. Everything's good. Let's go.
It's an exciting and nerve-wracking time indeed. And speaking of exciting, we have an exciting topic tonight, and that is top 5 actors. Now, just to clarify, we are doing just male actors here. We're separating actors and actresses the same way that the Academy does. And we will have a separate top 5 episode for actresses at some point. But for now, we're just going to stick with the males. So with that being said, we each came up with a list of our top 5 who we consider the best of all time. And then as we go along, we're going to formulate an ultimate top 5 from our top 5s. Hopefully that didn't confuse anybody.
I'm not confused.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to kick it off here. And I'm going to go with a pick that, seems kind of conventional when we're talking about top 5 actors of all time, but I'm going with DDL, baby, Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis, nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role for an Oscar 6 times, and he actually won 3 times for My Left Foot, There Will Be Blood, and Lincoln. Some of his more famous roles: My Left Foot, as I said, The Last of the Mohicans, The Crucible, Gangs of New York, There Will Be Blood, Lincoln, The Phantom Thread. His filmography isn't as extensive as some of the others on our list, but boy, does he make it count. He's
Absolutely.
just a tremendous actor, really gets into the roles with, his method acting. I don't know. What do you guys think about Daniel Day-Lewis and hell, even method acting?
He's such a great method acting. I know we've kind of discussed this on the side a few times, a little bit with method acting, and the way it's not as so much as kind of you look at Jared Leto when he did method acting when the Joker, but he was just kind of doing sick things. He wasn't necessarily method acting. He was just
sending dead rats and stuff to his castmates.
And but what I like about Daniel Day-Lewis is he essentially is a normal guy. From what I know, on the side when he's not acting, he's like a cobbler. He's he doesn't really live in fame for the most part. He's very humble, and he really picks a role every 3 years, and absolutely kills it. In terms of method acting, he was walking around for months acting like Abraham Lincoln, acting like Daniel Plainview. You actually believe that these characters are real, and none of his no 2 roles of his are alike. He always plays very interesting characters, with the exception of and if you guys haven't seen it, it's called In the Name of the Father, I believe it's called, which is another movie of his. It's really about the IRA, the Irish Republic, I believe, and how he was imprisoned. And he's regular Daniel Day-Lewis. He's a normal guy. He doesn't play like a crazy actor like Plainview or Lincoln, but that's another role where he can just kind of be a normal character, but then go to these period pieces or another character and really takes it over, where it's hard to believe that someone's acting for the most part. But he's a phenomenal actor. There's a reason he's the only three-time actor winner. And every time he's in a movie, it's pretty much locked in that he's going to get nominated.
Or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a theme for mine when we were talking about doing this topic was just a performance that stands out. And I mean, I think it's easy to say There Will Be Blood. I saw that movie with Hans, and I was just blown away by that performance. Like Hans was saying, you kind of come out of that movie being this was like a real person, right? Like this is a story, like, you know, not a true story, but, you know, something in that vein. He makes you forget that you're watching, you know, a performance per se. But yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason why he has such a short film list and why he probably won't make, you know, he's considered to be retired now, as he said, is just because he put so much effort into his roles. You know, my first movie I ever saw from him was Gangs of New York, which, I mean, he gives a wild performance in that, but like I didn't leave impressed, but I was young. And then I remember in school we watched The Last Mohicans, and I was like, oh, like cool, we're gonna watch like this movie from school. And like I remember just being enthralled by that performance and by that movie. I love that movie. By the way, it's a really good watch if you ever get a chance to see it. But yeah, There Will Be Blood like took my breath away. That movie is incredible. I think it was the best picture of that year. I think that was 2007, give or take, somewhere in there. But he's definitely considered. I mean, spoiler alert, it's, you know, one of my nominations as well. So yeah, definitely has to be in there for me when we talk about the, you know, the best. And as Chris mentioned, 3-time winner, you know, kind of just to stamp it there.
So sidebar to this conversation, because, you know, it sounds like we're pretty much all in agreement with Daniel Day-Lewis. There Will Be Blood, his role as Daniel Plainview. Would you guys say that is like his ultimate role?
I think that's going to be the one he's going to be known most as. It's not actually my favorite role. It's what if I like his top 3 favorite performance would probably be like My Left Foot, There Will Be Blood, and Lincoln, at least for my pick. I think he's going to be known the most for There Will Be Blood because of just how, like, all his movies are critically acclaimed, but I think just his performance with that, it honestly is, it's from a movie fan standpoint, it's probably one of the best performances I've seen from any actor in any movie. So I think that's going to be his most popular role. It's not my favorite of his, but it's like it's saying like picking a favorite Daniel Day-Lewis performance is like picking your favorite kind of ice cream. Like for me, it's like they're all
ice
good.
cream, baby.
They're all good. They're all ice cream.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think?
Yeah, I would say for me it is just because it just has such, like, I just remember so much about that viewing experience, the time I saw the place, I saw it, you know, and just, I think it's very, whether it be memeable or just clippable, like, I feel like, you know, that scene in the bowling alley towards the end, or even as he's, you know, given his kind of speech, you know, towards the, I think, first half when he talks about what he, you know, plans to do for the town, you know, and making oil. You know, My Left Foot, I think, is just, it depends on the generation. I think if we were 10 or 15 years older, I think we might say My Left Foot. And then Lincoln, you know, while that performance is memorable, I don't know how well the movie kind of holds up as far as like being into that stratosphere where, like, I think There Will Be Blood has like a cult kind of following for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with Hans in that. I think There Will Be Blood will probably be his most memorable role. And I'm not sure if I would call it his ultimate role, but I mean, it's definitely up there. So,
Yeah.
all right. So going into our ultimate list, we putting him on?
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be on.
He's a yeah for me. So, all right. First one on the list, Daniel Day-Lewis. All right. Hans, who do you got for us?
I'm going to go Leonardo DiCaprio.
Ooh.
You know, he's much younger than Daniel Day-Lewis, but I feel like he's been in at least 10 more movies than Daniel Day-Lewis. No, I mean, Leo got started really young, and his first major role that he was in, he got nominated for What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which, if you haven't seen that movie, it's before Johnny Depp got really weird, and it's before he kind of, you know, took over that Tim Burton personality for the most part, where he started doing goofy roles. It's overall it's a great movie, but his performance in it is great. I think at the time I don't exactly know how old he was, but I think he was in like his early 20s. But then he went on to basically start making a name for himself with doing some a few other roles, and then, you know, he knocked it out of the park with Titanic, which I'm not a fan of the movie in general, but the role was great. And then he's always in movies that, you know, he basically became like a household name once Titanic came out. But then he started doing once he started doing like I'm trying to think of some movies like off the bat. Like Revolutionary Road is a great one. Like I like these kind of historical pieces. Catch Me If You Can, which I'm not biased because the last name of one of the characters in it is Hanratty. Which fun story. I will use that as my claim to fame sometimes, even though I don't know him at all. But he starts playing these characters, and then like even The Revenant, I wasn't a huge fan of that, but you know that was that the first time he had won the award for best best actor, but
Yeah,
he was nominated. Yeah, he was nominated so many times before.
Yeah.
But he's such like a household name, and he's another one who gives so much to his roles. I don't think he necessarily does method acting, but like you look at like Django, he's the type of actor that he like broke his hand and like cut his hand in one scene and kept going. And I'm pretty sure like the whole cast were like, dude, like this guy's like out of his mind, like for the most part. But he really is. And it took me a lot later in life to kind of like realize how good of an actor he really is. But he's definitely the kind of actor now that like he can really pull off any kind of role, whether it's historical, like you know, thriller with Shutter Island and like Inception, which I think he's phenomenal in. He's such a good actor in that. But then you know he's I haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I heard he was great in that. But he's really gonna as for as much as he really has a bright future in you know whatever movie he does. Like it's always usually like a go-to possible nomination for him.
Mhm.
So
Harold, Leo.
Yeah, Leo's a good nomination. You know, when you asked the question earlier about Daniel Day, like what movie do I think of when I think of Leo? And I mean, it's hard for me to say because I think Titanic would be a choice, but I've never seen that movie fully through. It's surprising considering it's like one of the biggest selling movies of all time. You know, in the time that it came out, I was probably like 8 or 9. But yeah, I think for me, I don't know what I would pick for a performance, but yeah, as Chris was saying, he's been nominated a total of 6 times because he was nominated for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as best performance by an actor. Even though I think him and Brad, you know, pretty much shared that role in a way. So I don't know how they decided who was best actor and who was best supporting. You know, he did win for The Revenant, which I think was kind of one of those awards that, you know, kind of was a makeup, you know what I mean? Or not a makeup, but like, you know, they kind of gave it to him. While I don't think it's it's his best performance. I think it was just, you know, time per se. But what I really love about Leo too, and I kind of think about him with Will Smith because they kind of came up not around the same time, but you know, there was Titanic, I think in 97, and you know, Will Smith was doing all those big action movies, and Will Smith always went for the safe role. I feel like, you know, a role that people would look at him and be like, love Will Smith. He's, you know, he's great in that role. Where I think Leo, and especially in his later years, is taking a little bit more chances, working with Tarantino, you know, doing The Revenant, you know, with that. Cause, you know, I mean, I know he likes working with Marty, you know, doing The Wolf of Wall Street and The Departed. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I maybe might pick The Departed, but I don't know. That's more of an ensemble movie for me. And Wolf of Wall Street, while it is a wild movie, that's a pretty great performance there for that. So long way of saying I think it's a good nomination for it. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can't fight against Leo. I think that's a really solid pick when we're talking, you know, top 5 actors. I didn't see What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I have it on my Netflix queue. I just haven't gotten around to it. I think Titanic was the first time I became aware of him, and at the time I was a young stupid kid, and I'm like, yeah, he's just a heartthrob, you know, this guy doesn't have any acting ability or whatever. I was definitely wrong because since then I've grown to appreciate and admire not only Titanic but his performance in it. But the thing that like really opened my eyes to him, I think, was Inception. Catch Me If You Can did too.
That's a great call.
But Inception was the one that I was like, oh, this guy's got it. Where have I been? So yeah, that, I mean, you guys mentioned a bunch of stuff I love him in. So I'm not going to repeat all those, but yeah, I mean, he's a great pick, and I think he definitely still has more to give, and he's one of those actors where it's like, oh, he's coming out with a new movie, got to check that out.
I was gonna say too, Greg. I think just one of the movies you mentioned, Inception, from one of the best directors, Christopher Nolan, should have been a top 5 director for us in our top 5 directors pod, but I was outvoted sadly. So if you missed that episode, check that out. And then guys, No Love. I just remembered it. No Love for Romeo and Juliet, the street style version, dude. I love that movie.
That's all right. Yeah, that's not a great movie, but it actually it's really enjoyable.
A great movie.
Just like with how they incorporate it, like actually like the actual dialogue from Romeo and Juliet in a modern day setting is really cool. But
I'll be honest, I've never seen it. I mean, I'm aware of it, but I've only seen the Franco Zeffirelli version.
I was obviously going to say, Papa, I think that's a thing where it's like age shows, because like I remember watching that movie like multiple times in either high school, where it was like that was what we used to like understand Romeo and Juliet after like reading a book about it or reading something about it. So loved it. It's a great time.
Nice. All right, Leo, going on the top 5 of all time list.
I'm saying yes.
It's early. It's early in our discussions and looking at our list. I'm gonna say no.
Ooh, leaving the deciding vote up to me then. Yeah, I think he is great. I think we have some bigger heavy hitters on our list, so I'm gonna say no also.
Yeah. I got
Leo.
another one coming up that with that mentality, I might as well just chalk them up now.
Well,
Listen, it's hot takes, Hans. It's hot takes. Bring it, baby.
And
Bring that
I'm
confidence.
positive there's going to be some heat for that. All right, moving on. Hare, who do you have for us?
Great call. The one thing I will say about Leo, just circling back, just to finish off really quick, is that I think if we do this in like 20 years, I think we could easily probably put him on. But I think he still has like some time to go. Where he's still making some movies there for it.
It's fair.
All right. So my first choice is let's see here. What do I want to go with? I'm going to go with Jack Nicholson. Now, we mentioned Departed earlier. Obviously, Jack Nicholson was in that as well. But he's been in Best Actor nominated 8 times. He's been a Best Actor in a supporting role 4 times. So he's got a total of 12 total nominations. He's won Best Actor twice for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and As Good as It Gets. And he's won Best Supporting Actor for Terms of Endearment. So as we go through this, you'll kind of see, the stats were rolling off for the Academy Awards there. But, Chinatown was definitely a movie that I saw later, when I got older. Obviously didn't see it in the 70s when it came out, obviously. But that's one of his that, a lot of people look to. The Last Detail, Easy Rider. But as I was mentioning with Daniel Day-Lewis with There Will Be Blood, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for me was a movie I saw. I think my father he didn't make me watch it, but he was putting it on. I'm like, dude, I don't want to watch this outdated movie. Like, this is going to be awful. And it's just a role that you watch and it just kind of changes the way you look at, acting. So that was definitely impressive for me. And just the back and forth he has with the nurse and just, it's a great movie if anyone hasn't seen it here. The Shining, obviously, Greg has it imprinted on his body in case for a fun fact for the listeners out there. There he was in Batman. He played the Joker. A lot of people, forget about that. A Few Good Men, as I mentioned, I'll mention another actor later that is in A Few Good Men. As Good as It Gets and About Schmidt. He hasn't made a movie, I think, when I was looking at his thing in about 10 to 13 years. He's in his 80s now. I think it's time. I think Jack Nicholson's hit, the max performances, unless there's one kind of Anthony Hopkins-esque type performance in there, late. But a lot of movies there. Hans, what's your thoughts on that?
I as you read off some of the movies, I realized there are some like Nicholson movies that I haven't seen, like either in whole, like I've never seen Chinatown, and that was you mentioned it was before kind of our time. I saw One Flew Over. Yeah, I saw One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest in college after we read the book for like an English class, which is a phenomenal movie, and it really like all the performances, like, and I even forget some of the people that were actually in that movie as well. But I like some of his roles, like I know there's a big fan, like a lot of people who like him as the Joker. Like he's a very popular as a Joker. He's not my favorite. of the Joker,
yeah,
and
of course,
not
yeah.
even like saying like Heath Ledger's like number one. Like I think he's like a weird Joker. Like I'm not a huge fan of it. But other than that, like his other roles he does, like I love As Good as It Gets. It's a really good movie. And A Few Good Men is another phenomenal one. I think his later stuff I didn't really see too much of. Like I saw The Departed and About Schmidt. I don't think I ever saw that, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It's probably about a guy named Schmidt, if I had to guess. And
Well, he was nominated for that too, as well.
okay, yeah, I think it came and went for me. Like and
Yeah,
like he would never be like my go-to actor. Like if there was like a Nicholson movie coming out, or like I like his movies, they just don't like stick with me as much as like other actors that we're probably going to talk about. But you know, there's a reason he was nominated 8 times for Best Actor. I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily put him in top 5 of all time, but he's definitely in that top like 6 to 7 range, possibly. Like if we were like in an extended 1 or 2 spots, I would say yeah. But he is a great actor, and there's a reason he was getting roles for, you know, iconic roles that he's known for. So, Greg, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I do love Jack Nicholson. As Harry mentioned, I have a tattoo of him from The Shining on my leg. So, I mean, clearly.
Which hot take? I've never seen The Shining.
Oh no!
Wow.
We gotta fix that.
I actually bought it about 2 to 3 weeks ago. Like I saw it like for cheap on Amazon or something. So I do own the Blu-ray because I actually wanted to see Doctor Sleep. So I'm hopefully you know, Catherine's working a few nights this week, so I'll probably knock out The Shining this weekend. So
make it a priority. That is,
yeah.
I mean,
Most definitely.
amazing movie, and Doctor Sleep really good also.
Yeah,
but
I heard the extended was better.
Yeah, I didn't see the extended, but I heard the same. But back to Jack here. So I absolutely love Jack Nicholson, and he is clearly a great choice. I mean, the Academy seems to think so with all his nominations. I will say, I don't want to put this the wrong way, but like when I see Jack in a role, mostly in the latter half of his career, not so much the early half, but the latter half is more kind of just like that's Jack. Like that's Jack Nicholson doing
that's
Jack
Grandpa
Nicholson.
doing his stuff.
Yeah, right. He just kind of becomes not like a parody of himself because he still performs well, like you said. I mean, About Schmidt and The Departed, As Good as It Gets, fantastic. You didn't mention Anger Management with Adam Sandler.
I didn't love that one.
There's
that
a
was
very good reason why that was not.
I'm joking about that, but yeah, I mean, you know, these roles, he still manages to kill it, but at the same time, it's tough to look past him and see the character when he does those. I mean, it's very tough to accurately describe that for me, but like when I see him on screen, I see him and not the character. There's another actor that we'll get to later on down the line that accusation gets levied against quite often, and I disagree with, but we'll talk about that when we get to that actor. But for Nicholson, for me, yeah, I mean, just tremendous actor. The latter stuff, it's tough to not see Jack.
Interesting. Okay. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, I guess I see that.
Yeah, I feel like his character in As Good as It Gets is him in real life. Like that's for some reason I feel like that's Nicholson. And I see that too. Like he has like he's like a Nicholson face where like you cannot you cannot look past it, and it's yeah. I don't want to say it's distracting, but I completely agree with you. Like later in his life, like in his career, that's a good point.
All right, so all time list, putting them on. Harry, he's your boy.
I would say yes. One, because I nominated him. Two, because I think he deserves to be. I think he's got enough work under his belt that it shines through some of his later period work.
Okay. Hands.
All right. So just for now, I'm gonna say no, but I actually like put a little note next to him right here, just because like I'm not ready to give up on him yet and say no, but I put a little star next to his name. to kind of like possibly go back and be like, you know what, I need some time to let it stew.
Okay. That's fair. I think man.
We
This
can always
is tough.
remove him. We could always do another vote later.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna throw him on. This
Nice.
this is really tough. But I think he just makes it in. So
Did we make a
Go ahead.
decision on DiCaprio?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
out.
it
We
was a
outvoted
no.
you on that.
Ah,
Sorry.
okay.
I was hoping I could bring that discussion back up.
So Nicholson is on with Daniel Day-Lewis right now. Moving on to the next actor. I am gonna put up Tom Hanks. So he was nominated once for Best Actor in a Supporting Role, and he won that for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and he was nominated 5 times for Best Actor in a Leading Role, and won twice, Philadelphia and Forrest Gump, back-to-back years, which is pretty crazy. In terms of filmography, some of the big stuff you might know him from: Splash, Big, The Burbs, Turner and Hooch, A League of Their Own, Sleepless in Seattle, Philadelphia, Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, the Toy Story franchise, That Thing You Do, Saving Private Ryan, The Green Mile, Castaway, Road to Perdition, Catch Me If You Can, The Polar Express, the Dan Brown franchise with like Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons, Inferno, Captain Phillips, Saving Mr. Banks, Bridge of Spies, Sully. I mean, it's like hit after hit after hit after hit after hit, guys. Now, granted, the first part of his career was, it was mainstream stuff, but it wasn't, necessarily best acting quality. But I think, he really hits his stride once he hits the 90s. It's like he starts knocking them out of the park. Tom Hanks is one of these guys. Another one where if he's in a movie, got to check it out. I still have to go see News of the World, which I think was his most recent film. But yeah, I mean, he's just tremendous, and he can slip into all of these different and varied roles. And that's something for me that, like, when we talk about all time, what can you be put in any type of situation and make it work? And for him, I can absolutely see that. I don't know. Hare, what do you think about Tom Hanks?
Yeah, I mean, Tom Hanks for me, I feel like it's a vanilla pick. Like it's easy to make. It's there for you. It's your dad's, your mom's pick. Like you were mentioning about, I would say with a lot of his later roles, for me, where it's like, oh yeah, Greyhound's coming out. It's like, yeah, take dad to go see it. I mean, I know it was on Apple TV. Inferno, the what's it called, the Dan Brown trilogy that you mentioned earlier. It's like, oh, mom will love to go see that. He's playing Mr. Rogers, and I mean, now he's so famous for Woody. I mean, since the mid 90s, he's been doing the voice for that for however many years. I mean, kids today still growing up hearing that voice. For me, I would say his standout movies for me are Saving Private Ryan. That one right there for me is like incredible. I love it every time I watch it with it. And then his other movie for me, I really like Road to Perdition with him, just because, like, you talked a little bit about range and playing kind of a little bit of a darker, devious character in a way for that. And I mean, he has a lot of fun early work. You mentioned a lot about that earlier, but I think he's a safe pick. So I'll be interested to see how the voting goes for it, but I might be outvoted on that. But yeah, but no, great choice. I mean, obviously has to be mentioned with it. And as you mentioned, the back-to-back with the Oscars there works, in his favor 100%.
Hans, real quick before we get to you, just and another thing with him, I mean, look at a movie like Castaway, where he handles 2/3 of the movie on his own, minimal dialogue, and he still kills it. And I believe he was nominated for Best Actor for that movie as well.
I believe he was too, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just the guy knows what he's doing. Hans, what do you think about Tom Hanks?
He's one of my favorite actors, and my own hot take that I'll probably I offend myself by saying, like, with the whole back-to-back winners, and you guys know my love for Forrest Gump. I think that's the only award that he should not have won. I think Morgan Freeman should have won that for Shawshank Redemption. But other than that, I'm gonna leave that aside. I was too young to really know the difference.
You were like 8.
I yeah, right. And I think what he has a really interesting career because a lot of his stuff from the 80s were all comedies, including one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies, which you didn't mention, Joe versus the Volcano, which you have
Mhm.
not seen it. It is absolutely excellent. But he really relied on a lot of comedy, and then he like once like Saving Private Ryan and like Philadelphia, like the 90s, he
Yeah.
really started hitting that range of being like more known as a dramatic actor. But I think that like one of the reasons he is like one of my favorite actors is he's in some of my favorite movies. And even the movies that I don't necessarily like the first time I saw it, like I'm gonna like probably a hot take for me is the movie Cloud Atlas, which if you haven't seen it, I actually really enjoy that movie. And a lot of it has to be because of Tom Hanks. I think he's excellent in that role. But other than that, I mean, he's like nowadays if there's pretty much if you're doing like a biography, you're casting Tom Hanks for like for a reason because he could pull off any like historical character with ease, like from
Yeah.
anywhere from like Catch Me If You Can. He was a real like he was a combination of two different characters, but like Sully, I'd like Mr. Rogers.
I thought he was sublime as Disney in Saving Mr. Banks.
Oh yeah, and that's
Mm.
another like he on it like I there has to be a record for how many historical play like like characters he's played. It's got it's definitely double digits, and but he's phenomenal as Walt Disney, and it really just shows like as his like kind of career progressed. I feel like he's another one like kind of with Daniel Day Lewis. He's pumping out more movies than DDL, but at the same time he like I feel like he's getting like Academy recognition almost every year or every other year, and that's that's not a mistake. He's a phenomenal actor.
Mhm.
Oh,
All right. Well, let's put it to a vote. I'll start off. Is he going on the list? Hell yes, for me.
oh yeah,
I think he
absolutely.
I think he definitely deserves to be on there. So,
I
Hans, how about you?
Oh yeah, he's a yes for me.
Yeah. Okay. And hair?
I'm gonna say no.
Oh,
What?
The reason why I'm gonna say no is I feel like what was the last good Tom Hanks movie you saw? That wasn't like I'm talking about like release date. Like what was the last one that you saw and was like, wow, that was like a great performance?
Probably A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say
All
that.
right. Okay. All right. I mean, it was fine, but
Oh,
yeah.
Well, you are
Listen,
outvoted, sir.
I would say the Mr. Rogers documentary is 100 times better than
I
A
absolutely
Beautiful Day in the
agree.
Neighborhood.
I agree,
Yeah.
but
So-
but we're not talking about documentaries. We're talking
No,
Right.
I know. I'm just saying I think he's a safe choice, and I think his work in the middle part, of his career, probably from the early 90s to about, maybe the mid 2000s, is definitely up there. But I think some of his later work, like, I don't know. I just feel like I need to see better, great Tom Hanks films, and not
Okay.
safe choices.
Harry, have you seen News of the World yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I have probably no desire to see it, to be honest with you.
I will, and I will say that I feel like there was like a 2-3 year period where Tom Hanks was like, you're like, oh man, like Tom Hanks. I think at one point Tom Hanks released like 3 movies,
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 movies. So like when you're talking about like the Tom Hanks movie from like 2019 or 2018, whatever year it was, people were like wrapping their heads around like which one are you talking about? Like that
Right.
he did release a lot. I think it was like the same year Toy Story 4 came out. But other than that, dude, he should be on this list.
Listen,
He
maybe
could be
I'm
the-
just trying to have some hot takes. Maybe I'm just trying to stir up some drama, but like, I'm gonna say no, just to get
Let's-
some variety in there.
All right,
No one, Tom Hanks.
Let's get some hot takes going. Am I up next?
Yes, you're up next.
All right.
You gonna shoot your shot?
All right. So my next pick is
He's debating on it.
Setting yourself up
You know
for
what?
heartbreak.
no, I'm gonna play safe right now. I'm gonna go Anthony
Ah.
Hopkins.
Okay.
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 Has a very extensive career. He's been around for forever. One best actor for a movie he was only in it for 15 minutes for, which for Silence of the Lambs, which probably I think his most memorable performance, to be honest, it would be Hannibal Lecter.
100%.
But he's still being nominated. I think he's like 85 years old. He's still being nominated and performing like for The Father. I haven't seen it. I heard it's
And
phenomenal.
winning. Yeah.
He had some hiccups with the Transformers the last night, which that I'll let that slide. Um, but he absolutely like puts a lot into a role. Now I think he's kind of falls into that Jack Nicholson kind of thing where like it's Anthony Hopkins' face, where like his face hasn't changed in like 30 years. But then I think what is really what I like kind of my pick for him is how he transitions into TV, like with Westworld, which I know Harry, you watched Westworld. I didn't watch season 3.
Love Westworld.
Greg, you did not watch it, did you?
Correct. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Okay. He is probably I would say that's his best performance in Westworld. It's not like a major role, but it definitely is like something that like really attracted me to the show. Along the lines of like, except with like the storyline and everything. But he's another one that has like goofy range where he was in a buddy cop movie with Chris Rock at one point. I can't tell you the name of it off the top of my head right now. I just think he's at this age, he's still giving it his all, and he's still like kind of being recognized. As controversial as that win was at the Oscars, due to a bunch I think it's more of how the Oscars were produced at the time.
Yeah.
But he has some very memorable roles, and I'm sticking with that.
Okay.
Harry, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love Anthony Hopkins? I will say, when you look at his career, he did a lot of TV stuff and didn't really get recognized until later in his career, and especially with Silence of the Lambs. I think what Chris was trying to get at with Hopkins and with Nicholson is like Silence of the Lambs and The Shining are two iconic, performances where you like just are scared to death by two faces. Jack Nicholson cutting into the wood and just Anthony Hopkins standing in that cage or wearing that mask. So I think that's where a lot of it gets stuck in their head for that. I will say, since Jack is on the cusp of making it, I would put him just slightly above Anthony Hopkins. But he did become the oldest winner of an Academy Award at 83 years old for The Father, as Chris was alluding to. And it was a real heartbreaking, wonderful performance. And I would highly suggest anyone who didn't see that movie to check it out. It's based off a play. But yeah, obviously we're, for me though, with Hopkins, it just comes down to Silence of the Lambs. And that's kind of, not my only exposure obviously to him, but that's kind of like the big hit there, and what a hit it is. It's one of the greatest movies I would say of all time. But yeah, that would be my 2 cents. Papa, what you got?
So I love Anthony Hopkins, and he was one that I struggled with almost putting on my list. The earliest movie from his career that I saw was Magic, which is kind of a weird movie, but obviously the biggest thing he's known for, and I think the first thing I saw him in was Silence of the Lambs, which is great. Bram Stoker's Dracula, where he played Van Helsing, awesome. I loved Hearts in Atlantis. He did voice for Beowulf, which I think I talked about before.
Odin,
guys,
Odin.
Yeah.
I forgot all about.
Yeah, that's who I was getting ready to say. Like,
I'm sorry. Yeah, that honestly like just popped in my head. I'm like, oh, like that was like that as big as like MCU guys we are. Like, I left that one out.
and he totally adds a heft to that role and really makes that father-son dynamic with him and Thor. So yeah, by all means, that is a big role. And even The Two Popes, I saw that I want to say last year on Netflix, and I love that movie. I thought he was tremendous in that. So yeah, Anthony Hopkins is a fabulous actor. I think he's still killing it, obviously.
Yeah, I did forget one movie too from earlier days. David Lynch's The Elephant Man, which Hopkins was in as well. I think 1980. That's when it came out. But that was one I did forget to mention. Yeah, that one was. I've never seen it, to be honest, but I have heard glowing reviews from that movie. And Lynch is always a wild time.
That's one I've also not seen, but it's on my list of like I need to check that out, along with Citizen Kane and a few others. So yeah, boy, I can't profess my love enough for Anthony Hopkins. I think that's a really great pick.
I agree.
So let's put it to vote.
I agree. Yep. I write them down.
All right, so Hans, you're saying yes, he needs to go on the list.
Absolutely.
Hera, what about you?
I will say yes,
Ooh,
but
didn't
I'm
see
not. I'm
that
not
coming.
gonna. I'm not gonna put up a fight. Well, no, I mean, listen, Hopkins is great. I'm not gonna. Put up a fight. Plus, I'm trying to get you on my side for when I come up with a couple actors later. That's all.
You think I'm not? You think I'm not going to show up next week?
So my vote at this point doesn't count because I'm outvoted, but I would say yes anyway. I
Yeah.
think Anthony Hopkins is definitely worthy of being in that conversation for top 5. So right now we're actually at 4 already. We got Daniel
Yeah.
Day-Lewis, Jack Nicholson, Tom Hanks, and Anthony Hopkins. But let's keep
Glad we
on
left Leo
keeping
out.
on. Harry, who you got?
Next for me is going to be Mr. Tom Cruise. Now I know what probably some of the people are saying right now. Tom Cruise, are you serious? Well, let me just talk a little bit about Mr. Cruise's work. He's been nominated for Best Actor twice, supporting role once. Now he's done movies such as The Outsiders, which was kind of like his first kind of movie that let people know this is Tom Cruise. But the real big winner after that was Risky Business, which is an incredible movie. There's a nice homage to that in the show The OC from the early 2000s for my OC heads out there. What up? And then we get into the Top Gun of the world, Days of Thunder, Cocktail, Rain Man, Born on the 4th of July, A Few Good Men, as we talked about earlier. The Mission Impossible franchise, which there's now 6 of those movies with 2 more to be made and in development as this titan of industry keeps rolling on. Minority Report, Eyes Wide Shut, Jerry Maguire, Magnolia, War of the Worlds. A personal favorite of mine, Edge of Tomorrow. When we were talking about action movies on our one of our last pods. But the performance for me that really stands out is, if you haven't seen it, is The Color of Money. The Color of Money is a not so sequel to The Hustler, starring Paul Newman. And Tom Cruise is the epitome of cool in that movie to me. I love that performance. There's a scene in the movie to the song Werewolves of London that is absolutely just amazing. I can't talk enough about it. I won't go on a rant about it. But just how cool Tom Cruise is in that movie is amazing. So yeah, that's my nomination, Tom Cruise. Papa, what's your thoughts on it?
So I'm so glad that you put Tom Cruise on this list. And earlier when I was talking about Jack Nicholson and how, I kind of can't see past Jack Nicholson, Tom Cruise was the actor that I alluded to then, because a complaint that I've heard from multiple people is that, oh, it's just Tom Cruise playing Tom Cruise. No, it is not. Like, that's crap. That's just a crap thing. Tom Cruise, the person, might be a maniac, with all the Scientology stuff.
I wasn't going to mention it.
Yeah, but if you look at all these roles, he firmly plays a different person in each one, and it's not Tom Cruise acting, it's that character. Again, like, I believe it's the kid who got caught up in some shady stuff in Risky Business, and now, he's out there trying to make money, and that is a totally different dude from Maverick and Top Gun, and the character he played opposite Paul Newman in Color of Money. And I mean, just the list goes on and on. Born on the 4th of July, tremendous movie. Like, highly recommend that if nobody has seen that. The Mission Impossible series, just a great set of action movies. We kind of talked about that on our action film thing episode. Eyes Wide Shut, Vanilla Sky. I mean, yeah, it's just you can go on and on with that. Yeah. Vanilla Sky was great. All these movies, I love them. Last Samurai, I can't even believe you didn't mention that. That's my favorite movie of all, with him in it, where he plays Captain Nathan Algren. And I just, man, I love Tom Cruise's movies, and I think he does a tremendous job in all of those roles. Very distinct and different roles. Hans, what do you think about Tom Cruise?
I think Tom Cruise is I up until maybe, I guess, like the mid 2000s, like I love all his earlier work. Like I haven't seen Color of Money, and I've never seen Risky Business. I kind of just missed them at the time, and I never really I kind of forget about them. I know they exist, but I haven't watched them. But then you mentioned, like, Rain Man's one of my favorite movies, like probably like top 10, 15. Mainly him and Dustin Hoffman are phenomenal together. I'm glad we mentioned Born on the 4th of July, which I feel like that is a very underrated Tom Cruise performance. Like if you look at his portfolio, and like I think that is such a great movie and role. Like Willem Dafoe is phenomenal in it, and I think that once he kind of like after, I guess it would probably be Valkyrie. I kind of wish that he kind of stuck with some drama, like more dramatic roles, because I feel like he really took a quick left turn into action, like really action only. But you take away you take those roles and you see like from it like kind of from an opposite of like method acting, where like he's not being the character like off screen or anything, but he's giving literally everything he has physically to some of these roles, like Mission Impossible's specifically. But I think he kind of got like recently in the last like 15 years labeled as more of an action star and not necessarily an actor. But I mean, of all the movies that we've mentioned and I've seen him in, like he really is like a great actor. I think he peaked with Mission Impossible, I think, where I think he's still going. Like I think a lot of people know him now for Mission Impossible, but I wouldn't put him on a top 5 list only because of where his kind of, like I said, he took that quick turn into mainly action. But anything before that, like I'm not saying he's a bad actor. He's a great actor. I think his range kind of slowed down a little bit once he started like knocking out like Mission Impossibles and like The Mummy like every 2-3 years.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Mission Impossible is still awesome movies, but like you said, yeah, I think less about acting and more about the set pieces.
It's wild to me that like we're talking about Tom Cruise as like this action guy, and he's like in his 60s. He's about to be 60, and it's like he's filming Mission Impossible 7 and 8, where like he's like, yeah, I'm flying a fighter jet, and Top Gun 2's coming out. You know what I mean? But I mean, when you were talking about range earlier, Greg, one thing I wanted to mention: Jerry Maguire, Mission Impossible, same year, 1996. So both of those movies coming out the same year is pretty crazy. Especially given how popular movies were in the 90s, and how well received Jerry Maguire Mission Impossible was. But
adding to that too, I mean, it was a little later. It wasn't the same year. It was 99, but Magnolia. That was another one. You had mentioned. I love him in that movie. I love that movie. Period. But he plays Frank T.J. Mackey, and he has this crazy dynamic with his father, and he himself plays a crazy character, and it's based off of the way that he was treated by his father in the movie, not in real life. But yeah, just outstanding movie. But yeah, I mean, if you had to recommend one Tom Cruise movie to somebody that hasn't seen one, which would you guys pick?
Out of left field, Tropic Thunder.
Oh. Definitely out of left field.
No, to be honest, if I would probably say either Rain Man or Born on the 4th of July. Now, if we're looking for a supporting role, definitely Tropic Thunder, because that showed he has like how much range that he can actually go with. Yeah. But I would say 4th of July or Rain Man.
Yeah. I probably say Risky Business, just because like when I was talking about earlier, just about my other nominations, like Risky Business, when I saw that movie, I was just like, wow, like this guy's a star. Like, and I obviously saw it, not when it came out, I saw it, in the early 2000s, but that is around the time where you're like, oh, Tom Cruise in his big budget action movie. And it's like, no, this guy's like a real star. So I would say Risky Business for me. He's really young in that movie, but total star-making performance.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go Born on the 4th of July also, but Risky Business would be a close second. Choice.
Yeah.
All right, so Tom Cruise, he was your pick, Harry. You saying he's on the list?
I'm in. He's in.
Okay.
2 thumbs up.
Hands. What about you?
Just because of the most recent like 15 years, like as more of an action star, I'm gonna say no.
Oh,
okay.
Unbelievable. I think that you're getting back at me for one of your for the Hanks or DiCaprio.
Don't worry, you're gonna beat me up in about 5 minutes.
No, I'm not actually. It's funny.
All right, so I am the deciding vote here for Mr. Cruise, and I love Tom Cruise so much, but I think I'm gonna have to go no.
Dude, is this happening again? Are you guys serious?
here's the
All
thing.
this
Here's the
love we
thing.
just put in here. Oh my
I
god!
do, and I love him, but I think that there are some better choices still out there. We're already at 4. I don't want to have to shave him off later.
This
So
is
I think,
Nolan all over again. This is
think it's best-
unbelievable.
I think it's best to just cut it in the bud right
you guys
now.
are
but
insane.
he is a great actor. Definitely top 10. I'll say that. Definitely top 10. But we're doing
man.
top 5. So
This is brutal.
all right, moving on to me. I am gonna go with Bobby D, Mr. Robert De Niro. So he
Great call.
was nominated twice for Best Actor in a Supporting Role, and he won for The Godfather Part 2. And then he was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role 5 times, and actually won once for Raging Bull. Some of his better known parts, obviously The Godfather Part 2, mentioned that. Taxi Driver, phenomenal. The Deer Hunter, Raging Bull, The Untouchables, Goodfellas, Cape Fear, tremendous, which he was also nominated for. Casino, Analyze This franchise, Meet the Parents franchise, City by the Sea, love that. Silver Linings Playbook, which he was also nominated for. Joker, The Irishman.
Yeah.
So, I mean, guy is just a stellar actor. And, I think in the latter part of his career, there's definitely more of those, hey, I'm just kind of taking them to get a paycheck movies. But he still mixes those in with, serious roles. So even though, some people might say, oh, he's kind of lost it. He hasn't really, because he still finds the dramatic pieces to pick, and he's again got range. He's shown that he can do comedy, he can do serious stuff. He was even in a horror movie, which the name of it escapes me, but it was mid 2000s, I think. So yeah, I mean, Robert De Niro, tremendous actor. Hans, what do you think about him?
I just realized as you're reading off a lot of these movies that I haven't seen a bunch of them. I won't let you pick. I'll say, like, I've seen Goodfellas, Casino, Godfather 2, obviously. But I haven't seen Raging Bull or Taxi Driver, like a lot of those earlier works that he's like really kind of was known for. That being said, from what I've seen him in, like I'm not a big fan of the Analyze This series and Meet the Parents. I think I just they're not
fun.
They're fun movies. Like, and you're right, like Greg, like he kind of started doing movies to really to just say like, hey, like I'm Robert De Niro. Like, you're gonna pay me either way. Like, this movie could like honestly be terrible, and you're still gonna pay me to be in it. I haven't seen The Irishman. It's gonna be probably too long for me to watch. But other than that, he's good. He's definitely a great actor from what I've seen him in. And I know you guys are probably gonna go against me with this because like I haven't seen I just haven't seen like probably enough De Niro movies compared to like to what you guys have. He's phenomenal in Goodfellas, although it's hard to believe that he's playing a 27-year-old in it. And it's like I think Casino I've only seen like once or twice. I've seen Goodfellas a lot more. But he definitely is a great actor. Silver Linings Playbook, he's great in. He's as a compulsive gambler. He's kind of brings some like light to that character. But other than that, I don't want to say too much on him because I don't think I've seen enough of his like resume compared to you guys.
I'm gonna guess the answer is no, but did you see Cape Fear?
Nope.
Oh man,
Counselor.
Good. So good. He is a psycho in that movie.
And these are like movies that like I've always kind of had like people say like you've never seen Raging Bull, like you've never seen Taxi Driver, like no, like Deer Hunter, like I haven't. And I don't know, like I'm sure if I go through like some of the movies like on IMDb, there are going to be ones that stick out, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I did possibly see that. But his big movies, I haven't seen like earlier in his career that really like kind of put him on a map. I think he may have peaked somewhere around like Goodfellas and Casino. But then like other movies where he was in them and people like really enjoyed them and he like was good in it. But I think that's where he kind of like hit that peak with Casino.
Or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's obviously a great nomination for discussion. I mean, I think he's another one similar to Nicholson when we talked about where like if you didn't see a lot of his earlier work, it's hard to it's hard to describe the type of performances he gives, especially in Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. I mean, even Deer Hunter, which is a pretty wild movie. But I think Chris was saying it, correctly. Like in the early '90s, like when he starts doing, Goodfellas and Casino and Heat. He's kind of like at the heat, at the top. I didn't mean to say heat. The top of his powers there for that. With it, and he does show his comedy side, a little bit later with the Analyze, this and that, and the Meet the Parents franchise, which I think are really fun and good times. But yeah, he stands out to me as a must, put as a nominee to be on this ultimate list. But yeah, I think as you mentioned earlier, Greg, I was going to mention Cape Fear when he plays Max Cady. And it's like, that is we talked about a little bit earlier about Silence of the Lambs, The Shining. That's definitely up there in that tier of like, geez, this is a terrifying, kind of movie there for it. So yeah, he would definitely be in for me. Phenomenal choice.
Okay. So I'm going to kick it off, and I'm actually going to say no. I don't think he belongs on the I'm going to say I don't think he belongs in the ultimate top 5. Again, this is kind of, looking at some of the other names coming down the pike, but look, he is tremendous, and I would definitely put him top 10, but I think despite, all the praise that I just lavished upon him, I don't think he quite makes it on. So
I did not
that's
see this turn coming.
Harry, and what about you? What do you say?
I think he's in, man. I mean, just some of the movies when you were going down the list that you just, reminded me of when we were going through it. I mean, he's got a lot on there that I think, deserves to be recognized in this top 5 list. Okay.
Hans, you're the deciding vote. What do you say?
I just realized he's actually in another one of my like favorite movies from like the late 80s, early 90s, Awakenings with Robin Williams, which if you haven't seen that. Where
I have
he's
not
like,
seen that.
It's great. He plays like an adult who comes out of like basically like a comatose state. But he, like at one point, like in like the early, like I think like the 20s, a lot of like children basically were getting, I forget what the disease was, but they were going into like comas, like, but they were like kind of still like, I don't want to say functioning, but they were just basically just like spaced out. And they find a drug that wakes him up as an adult. So when he wakes up as an adult, he thinks he's still like a 12, 13-year-old kid. So he's like trying to adapt. It's Robin Williams plays like the doctor in it. A phenomenal movie. I think De Niro was nominated for it. But it's a great dramatic role for him. But with that being said, no, he's not going on my list.
Okay. Well, I will definitely
what
check
a turn
out
of events.
I'm sorry. I realized like I'm like going through his IMDb as like you're going. I'm like, oh my god, I cannot believe I forgot that movie.
But Bobby D does not make it on the list. All right, Hans, you're up. Who you got?
Guys, I have one left because we've talked about everyone else, and I'm saving the best for last.
Let's go, baby.
You might as well just say no now. But I'm going with who I've said this before. I think he has probably the most range. He's never won an award, and that's Jason Bateman. We're talking top 5 actors. He's not going to be up on this list with Daniel Day-Lewis and Nicholson. The more I think about it, it was a dumb pick. There were probably much better options. But if we're going to talk about Jason Bateman, we're going to talk about like how like the roles that he's in. I think he's getting shafted a lot by Hollywood. He started really early on TV, then got a lot of fame with Arrested Development. But he's such like, I don't even know how to defend this.
We're talking Teen Wolf 2 and Game Nights, right? Or Game Night.
First of all, wait. Game Night is a phenomenal movie. Are you crazy?
It's a great movie. It's funny.
I haven't seen it.
Great movie. But we just talked about De Niro, who did like Las Vegas.
Las Vegas was a fun time, man. I saw that alone in the afternoon.
Stop.
Like 50 seniors. It was great.
I think like when I was making the list,
special.
I think I mixed it too much with like maybe if we're doing like a fave list. But then like I thought about it and said like I really wish like like Bateman would get more get more recognition, because I think he is such a phenomenal actor, and I don't think like from like Arrested Development, but then he also does roles with like The Gift, which is a great movie, Bad Words, which he directed, Ozark, which is probably one of my favorite shows of the past like 5-6 years. You know, he does like he can do comedy, he can do drama, like probably. No, I'm not even gonna say that. He could do drama pretty much like almost as good as some of the people on this list. But I think like if he kind of like maybe in the future, if he starts doing like more serious roles, I know he's known as like a comedic actor with some of his stuff, but I think if he kind of goes towards a more serious path and like he can kind of take a look. Never mind. Just no, he's not on the top 5 list.
Talking yourself out of it. So here's my thoughts on Jason Bateman. I think he is a really, really solid actor. He'll forever be Michael Bluth to me, but I also recognize that he can do drama. He's just not top 5. Like you said it yourself. He hasn't.
I thought about it. That's why I said like when I typed it out and I'm like, wait a minute. And then and I think like this morning I'm looking at it and I think like Harry updated his list and I'm like, oh my God, I'm such like a goof. Like
you had an extra person on there that you removed. And I think that person is way more in contention than
fair enough.
Than the person,
if we do another go around, can I swing that person in?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
absolutely.
Cool. All right.
And we
All
will.
Right. Let's just chalk it in. No.
So when I saw you left Jason Bateman on, I was like, okay, he wants the hot takes.
I think if we ever do Fave 5 actors, then he'll probably be at the top of the list. You're lucky I didn't put like Seth Rogen or Jason Segel on here.
Jeez.
Because
I'm not lucky. You're lucky. You're lucky you didn't put that on. Okay, so Harry, what are your thoughts on Jason Bateman?
Listen, I mean, I think I would like to see the next 20 years of Jason Bateman and see, if he can do more things like The Gift or Bad Words, which
sky's the limit.
Are great movies. But I mean, I think he is really good with comedy. I mean, if we're doing top 5 comedic actors, he would, he could, be in contention. But as far as the top 5 of all time, it's a big swing and a miss for that. But I would like to see what the next 20 years, because I love Ozark, as Chris mentioned earlier. That's a fantastic show if you haven't watched it. I think it's coming to an end soon, so if you want to do the Netflix push to see it before it ends. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Okay, so I think it sounds like
he has won
an
Emmy
here.
He has won an Emmy, so I mean, you got that going for you, Chris.
And I mean that is something.
And Suicide Squad won an Oscar. So what's your point here?
It sounds like we're all in agreement. So on the count of 3, let's just say what we're gonna pick. 1, 2, 3. No,
maybe.
Oh no.
All right, cool. You guys totally ruined it. No, in, and maybe. Awesome. No, he's not in. All right. Any other thoughts on Jason Bateman before we move on?
No. He plays no, I don't have.
Okay.
I'm good.
Nice. All right, Harry, you're up.
All right, up for me. So next nomination for me is going to be the one Marlon Brando. He's won a Best Actor in a Leading Role, or he's been nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role 7 times. Best Actor in a Supporting Role once. And he's won Best Actor twice, similar to some of the other nominees who we've had today as well. And he won it for On the Waterfront and The Godfather. I mean, I guess when Marlon Brando is obviously, we're turning the clock back quite a ways with a lot of his work. But for me, what really stands out, and it's a movie I love to quote and watch our friend Frank do, On the Waterfront. It's such a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, I would highly suggest it. It probably would be in my possible top 10 list of favorite all-time movies. And it's I feel like On the Waterfront is a movie you watch in a college course where you're taking some type of film class, and they're like, what are we watching? And it's like On the Waterfront. I must have seen it at least 2 or 3 times in college. That tells you how many film classes I tried to take. But, we obviously have the Godfather, A Streetcar Named Desire, really, kind of put him on the map, yelling in the street in the rain. Apocalypse Now, Last Tango in Paris. I mean, similar, I would say, to Daniel Day, with, you know, not a ton of high, you know, amounts of movies, you know, but like high quality, you know, work there for it. So, Hans, what's your thought on Brando?
So I think since a lot of his movies, like I haven't seen, I've seen probably like Godfather, Superman, obviously, and unfortunately the Island of Dr. Moreau,
Ooh.
which that is probably, if I had to do top 10 worst movies ever, that's absolutely probably falling in the top 5. That was late. I think it's like his second to last movie. That might have been his last like wide released one. There's just a lot of things wrong with that movie. But you know, like Apocalypse Now, he's great in. Godfather, you know, he's phenomenal in. I haven't seen too much from his older stuff before Apocalypse Now. So yeah, the 60s and 70s where like kind of he was like pumping them out. But you know, from what I've seen him, and he's absolutely great. And there's a reason like he got a ton of recognition like during his time of those like 2 or 3 decades in there. So I guess if we're not doing a fave list, so I probably wouldn't put him in the top 5. I don't know if I put him in top 5 since I can't kind of evaluate him based on 2 or 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, what do you think?
For me, you know, I'm kind of in the same boat, Hans, where I've only seen him in a few movies, particularly Godfather, Apocalypse Now, Superman, and Island of Dr. Moreau. But I think he just, from what I've seen him in, and those are 4 very different roles, he just really kind of is outstanding. Island of Dr. Moreau, admittedly, I've only seen once, and it was probably a year or 2 after it came out. So it's been a while. But I liked him in that from what I can remember. But the thing that really stands out for me is Apocalypse Now. I mean, when he plays Kurtz, he plays it so spine-chillingly well. I mean, it's just, you feel like this is a guy that has lost his mind. You believe that. And he's just insane. And that, and, you know, Vito Corleone, the Godfather, I mean, those 2 roles in particular, he just blasts it. Like, you cannot look at either of those and say this man is not one of the most talented, fine actors out there. It's just the way he plays those characters so well. So yeah, I mean, again, not a lot to judge him on, but the things that I have seen, you know, just stellar for me.
All right.
Noted. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, I mean, so the homework for you guys after this is watch On the Waterfront. It's it's an incredible movie. Absolutely 100.
I think it's on Netflix, and if it is, it's definitely in my queue. I can't remember if it is or not, but it's another one I want to see. All right, so Brando, yes or no? Harry, you kick it off.
Remind me who's in.
Daniel Day, Jack Nicholson, Tom Hanks, and Anthony Hopkins.
I think he's got to be in. I with that list, I think he's got to be in. Also, my cat has joined us for those who are watching at home.
All right, Hans, you're up.
Like I said, I'm only gonna go based on. I don't think it's fair for me to vote. I'm gonna say no because
Saints.
Your point with, you know, Apocalypse Now, like it's such a great performance, and with The Godfather, but I don't want to say yes or no based on just like 2 great performances. But
okay,
leave it up to you.
That's fair. Well, you know, even though I have seen very little of him, I think I've seen enough to say he belongs in the top 5. Like I said, I mean, he's just, those roles, he knocks them out of the park. So I'm throwing him in also. So that brings us to 5, but we're not done with our lists yet.
Not yet.
Nope. So Brando's in, and we have one person left. Hans, we've run through all yours because we had some overlap, and Harry, me and you share the final one also with some overlap.
Ooh, baby, let's go.
So,
I'm not getting that Jason Bateman makeup. Are you kidding me?
No,
you are
not getting the Jason Bateman makeup.
That's fair.
So I'm going to nominate Mr. Denzel Washington. He was nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role twice and won for Glory. And he was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role 6 times. And surprisingly, he only won once for Training Day. I figured he would have won more than that. Some big movies he was in: Cry Freedom, Glory, Mo Better Blues, Malcolm X, The Pelican Brief, Philadelphia, Crimson Tide. He Got Game, which is a tremendous movie. The Siege, The Hurricane, Remember the Titans, Training Day, John Q, Out of Time, Man on Fire, The Manchurian Candidate, Inside Man, Deja Vu, American Gangster, Book of Eli, Unstoppable, Flight, The Equalizer franchise, and Fences. So he's just another dude that has run the gamut of all different types of movies. And it seems like, there was a little period, a little stint where he kind of just went into like action movies, and then he dipped back out of that. But he was good in those action movies, even if they were kind of not generic, but like they definitely weren't the normal fare that you had seen him in. And then, he kind of had that run. But yeah, Denzel is just he is great, very memeable, even though that's not something that really matters here. But tremendous actor. I think the first thing I saw him in was Glory, and absolutely love that movie. I don't know, Harry, what are your thoughts on Denzel?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was, one of my choices as well. And anybody who probably knew me in the early 2000s early 2000s, I was obsessed with Denzel Washington. I think he's an amazing actor. I think I first saw him, I want to say, in Remember the Titans, just because of the age and when that movie came out, and being a Disney movie. But yeah, I mean, he's incredible in that. I mean, Training Day is obviously what he won for. He should have won for Malcolm X. He was nominated for it, but that's the Academy for you. He should have won that. Some of his later movies, as you mentioned, Greg, I think he kind of falls in a little bit with this Tom Hanks thing where, Denzel's kind of more of just, Denzel, and it's like, oh, here comes Denzel to do the new, shooter movie, or whatever it might be, or new In Danger movie, where, Hanks is just kind of playing, an everyday type of character, or, our living legends. But Man on Fire for me is my quintessential Denzel role. Not an amazing movie, but an amazing Denzel performance. Absolutely love it. 100% there. Hans?
Yeah, get ready for this bomb. So here's the thing about Jason Bateman. So, all right, I would agree to have Denzel on this list. Now, it's the movies that I haven't seen from him is going to shock people. I've never seen Training Day. I've never seen Man on Fire. I've heard they're great. They obviously were, because I think he won for Training Day. But I got on the Denzel train, I'd say in the early 2000s, but I've seen a lot of his stuff before then. Probably one of my favorite roles of his is either Remember the Titans or Courage Under Fire, which if you haven't seen it, it's a fantastic, I guess you consider it like a war movie. But it's about he's basically an investigator to award the first female Medal of Honor winner.
Yeah.
With Meg Ryan. It's a great movie. I would definitely recommend it. Balky from Perfect Strangers is in it. Not as Balky, but he's in it. But yeah, I mean, Denzel, there's a reason he basically can drop his last name. And basically I don't think I've never heard anyone say oh, well, Denzel Washington has a new movie coming out. It's always Denzel's got a new movie coming out.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a lot for that, to get that recognition. It's not like Madonna or anyone who doesn't have a last name. People just know him as Denzel. But I mean, some of my favorite roles, like I said, Courage on Fire, Remember the Titans, Philadelphia is phenomenal. I really love Book of Eli. I think that's one of my favorite roles of his. Equalizer's great. I haven't seen some of his more recent stuff like Flight or Fences.
Flight's amazing.
I've heard they're great. But I haven't got around to seeing them. But from what I have seen, I would definitely put him on this list. because there's a reason he's getting all those like kind of those nominations, and he's a household name for the most part. Like he's not Jason Bateman apparently.
But really, who is?
Yeah, exactly. Who has that range?
All
I
right,
haven't seen
so
Denzel doing comedies.
Yeah.
we're talking top 5 here, and we have 5. But do we want to put Denzel on that list? I'll kick it off. I'm going to say yes. I think he absolutely deserves to be on there.
I'm going to say yes
Harry.
as well. I mean, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. If he's not on the final list, I'm going to lose my mind again. It's fine. We lost Cruz. We're bringing it at home with Denzel.
All right, and Hands?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, I as much as that space needs to go to another actor, but you know,
All right, so we have our
Hashtag
top
Bateman
6
for life.
We need to get it down to top 5. Here's who we have on the list: Daniel Day-Lewis, Jack Nicholson, Tom Hanks, Anthony Hopkins, Marlon Brando, and Denzel Washington. That's a tough list, boys. Who we want to cut here?
So I would say, I think off of our discussion, I think Brando and maybe Hopkins, we were the two that were like kind of on the fence. I feel like we were all with Daniel Day. We all had him on our list.
Mhm.
I don't know, Hands. What are you thinking right now?
I had like a star next to Nicholson because I think like personally,
Mm.
like I think he was like I said, he was in that 6 and 7 range for me, but I
Yeah.
kind of needed the rest of the episode. But I think
All right.
personally, I would get rid of Nicholson and put Denzel in there, or
Mhm.
Nicholson or Brando for me. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
I don't know where kind of your mindsets are.
I don't disagree with that.
For me,
Drum
it
roll.
goes to, I think, either Anthony Hopkins or Marlon Brando. One of those I think needs to go. Based on the fact that I've seen less of him, this is where it is going to come into play. I think Brando would be off my list. Not saying he doesn't deserve to be on here, but just I have too small of a sample size compared to Hopkins. So that's my take, Brando.
Chris, do you have any other thoughts on Brando? Are you voting yes on not having Brando in?
Just because I haven't seen a lot of his earlier
Yeah.
work, I would cut Brando and put Bateman in, and I meant Denzel. I'm sorry, and yeah, Brando off.
All right,
I will reluctantly agree, but I think when we circle back in however many months for best actors again, I think he might be back in the discussion again, and maybe we'll see some more of his movies.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So our top 5 actors of all time: Daniel Day-Lewis, Jack Nicholson, Tom Hanks, Anthony Hopkins, and Denzel Washington. There you have it, folks.
What a list.
Yes. So who are your top 5? Who do you have? Did we miss anybody that you think deserve to be on here? Did we get somebody wrong where you think they shouldn't be on, and somebody else that we mentioned should be? Let us know. As always, like, share, follow, comment, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Harry, anything for the peeps?
Nothing for the peeps. Everybody, we'll see you in 2 weeks. I think we'll have some fun content for you. But thanks for listening. Like, follow, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff.
All right. And Hands, anything for the peeps?
Let's see. The Kingdom, Hancock. What other stuff was he in? Couples Retreat, which I've seen way more than I should have. Horrible Bosses 1 and 2, The Change Up.
Yes.
Yeah, I can go on and on. So
what's the one with Ryan Reynolds? Is that the Change Up?
Yeah, that's a great
good
movie.
one.
That's a good one. So by this time next week or our next show, I'll have my Jason Bateman podcast running. And
the Hand-Ready heads are going to take over.
I'll be able to start promoting that, but as of right now, I have nothing to promote. I did get an update that the Sixers did win.
Hey!
So some good news for me tonight. Except, old Jason Bateman thing. I'm going to hold that over your heads forever.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. And as always, live spicy.
Spicy.